Hello and good morning. Good Monday morning. Today is January the 30th, and I'm coming to you from sunny Florida. Sunglasses on my head, all ready to go. Yeah, I'm traveling right now. Traveling in honor of my birthday, so came up to see my parents. Happy birthday to all of my fellow Aquarians at this time. I know a lot of you are celebrating. All right. Couple of quick things. First of all, disclaimers. Got to do all my disclaimers. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a certified financial advisor. Anything you see or hear in this video that may be construed as specific advice to you, please keep in mind that you have free will. Please make choices in your own best interest. Please tap into your own intuition and take responsibility for your actions and decisions. Okay, got that out of the way. For those of you who are new here, let me just really quickly explain how my weekly readings work. So every Monday, I tap into people's energy and I do 3 separate readings. Initially, I ask you to go into a light meditative state, and I present 3 rocks, gems, or trinkets to you. And I ask you to intuitively decide which of the rocks, gems, or trinkets that you are drawn towards. And then I do a reading. And what I'm actually looking at is the general overall energy that is influencing you this week, as well as the shadow energy, the energy that's bubbling and brewing just below the surface that you may not be aware of, but perhaps you should be aware of that energy. So oftentimes, sometimes there can be impatience brewing below the surface. And if we're aware that that is an energy that's influencing us, we're better able to deal with our family and friends, knowing that impatience, for example, is a dominant shadow energy that particular week. So I will also put timestamps down below for you. If you like the content that I'm producing, please like my video. Let me know that you like these videos and that you like the format. I would also love to hear your feedback. So yeah, comments are always appreciated. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so take a couple of deep breaths and really, really tap into your breath and tap into your own energy. Pay attention to where you're at right now. You can do this with your eyes opened or closed. If you choose to close your eyes, just gently close them. No need to squeeze them shut. Couple more deep breaths in, and as you exhale, relax. Another deep breath in. Exhale, relax. And if you do have your eyes closed, please open them, and I'm going to present the first of today's rocks, gems, or trinkets. And again, in honor of being in Florida, I'm presenting a little seashell. So if you are drawn towards this little seashell, I'll be pulling cards for you from deck number 1 this week. And the second little trinket this week is this Orgonite. So if you are drawn towards this Orgonite, I'll be pulling cards for you from deck number 2. And finally, we have this little tiny Selenite ball. So if you are attracted to this little Selenite ball, I'll be pulling cards for you from deck number 3. So take another deep breath and make your choice between the seashell, the Orgonite, or the Selenite ball. All right, let's get started. For those of you that selected the seashell this week, I'll be pulling cards for you from the Osho Zen Tarot. Let's get started. I do have all of the decks previously cleansed and cleared. Okay, for the seashell, let's have a card for dominant energies this week. All right. We do have actually 3 cards that have come out. All right, lucky you guys, you get 3 cards this week. I will read them in the order in which they are presented to me. The first card is the equivalent of the 7 of Pentacles. And in this deck, this represents patience and cycles. This represents paying attention to the cycles that we are currently experiencing, both feminine cycles, the cycles of the moon, the cycles of the year. All of these things become important this week. This means that as you are planning and going about your week, one of the dominant energies, and it's funny that I mentioned this in the introduction, could potentially be impatience. So if this card had come up as your shadow energy, it would have had the opposite meaning and would have been a warning to pay attention to your patience this week. Instead, coming up as a dominant energy, it's representative that you are practicing patience right now. And through patience, we have the opportunity to grow spiritually. We have the opportunity to grow emotionally and psychologically as well. And we're also being reminded this week to pay attention to the cycles and where we are at, which is interesting because the other 2 cards that came up for you this week is the Ace of Swords, which represents moving into a deeper state of our consciousness and awareness. And you also got the 5. The 5 card from the traditional tarot deck represents no thingness in this deck. What does that mean for us? Well, these 2 cards together both represent going into a deeper state of our awareness, a deeper state of not only our awareness about self, but our awareness of everything that is happening around us. Why is that important with this card right next to us? Well, the thing is that as we grow spiritually, as we expand our own awareness, not only of ourselves, but we expand our awareness of the people and what's going on around us, we can actually go into a place of impatience, because when we recognize that other people are not growing and expanding as quickly as we are, we can actually get impatient with those people. So just a reminder, as you are expanding and growing, practice patience with everyone. The fact that this card did not come up as a shadow indicates that you have that capacity this week. You have the capacity to practice patience, both with yourself as you're growing, as well as practicing patience with others. And what's coming up for me intuitively and psychically is that for some of you, the reason that you got these 3 cards is that you are expanding your own consciousness and your own awareness. You have the capacity to go into this no thingness, which is a place of non-judgment. It's a place of being able to really shut down all of this other chatter and get in touch with what's really important. And for a lot of you, what I'm picking up is that you got this card with these other 2 because you're meant to be a teacher. You are meant to be a teacher and a mentor and set an example this week for many others who are just beginning their journey towards this Ace of Swords and towards this no thingness. When we first begin to meditate, this is what we want to achieve. We want to be able to shut down and close off all of that outside chatter and get into this state of nothingness so that the super consciousness, the unconsciousness, the universe, whatever name you choose to put on it, has the capacity to come in and communicate with you. And when this happens, there's an expansion in our consciousness and awareness. And when we master these two things, we have the ability to be able to teach and mentor and assist others while always keeping in mind patience. So that is your message this week. That is your dominant energies this week. Let's just turn over this deck and have a look at what the bottom card is, which is an indication of your shadow energy. What's bubbling below the surface that may come forward this week and be a little bit bothersome. Ooh, look at that card. This is the equivalent to the 10 of Wands in the traditional tarot. This is the suppression card. This is self-imposed, tangle myself up in my own ropes and chains and get all caught up in a fuzzy brain or fuzzy mind up here. Why does this happen? Because we're not practicing this. And we're struggling too hard to achieve this. The bottom line is that this is what we hope to accomplish. Do we as students have the capacity to accomplish this right off the bat? No. This state is a very practiced, measured skill. Okay. Now, do we have the capacity to achieve this from time to time and catch glimpses of it? Absolutely. And then we practice patience with ourselves so that we can get back into this state. But your shadow this week is this suppression card, which means that you're not practicing patience with yourself. You're getting yourself caught up in and entangled in that which really isn't important to you, right? Oh, you heard this on the news. Oh, I heard that. Oh, this person said that. Oh, I have to think this. I have to think that. No. When you're in that state of I have to or I should, this is what's happening. So return this week to this. Return again and again and again to this. All right. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I will see you next week. Just a reminder, I am available for personal readings. You can check my website, intuitivebutterfly.com/services, and I'm available. All right, let's move into those of you that selected this Orgonite. I will be pulling cards for you this week from Bradley Valentine's Fairy Tarot. Let's have a look at the dominant energies influencing those who selected the Orgonite this week. All right. What is the dominant energy influencing those who selected the Orgonite? Come on, fairies. Oh, there we go. Is there anything else this week? Anything else? Oh, we do have a couple more cards. All right. Let's read this first card first. Eight of Pentacles. Do more research before proceeding. Education in the form of seminars, possibly going back to school, excellent craftsmanship, and long-term projects. This is interesting because for those of you that selected this Orgonite this week, you might want to have a quick peek at the first reading that I did for the people that selected the seashell. Because what I picked up from their cards is that there's a possibility that they should be looking into doing a little bit of teaching or mentoring. And this card as well is saying that there could be some educating, some seminars. You might be looking at doing some learning, but I do caution you because this card is also saying, be cautious before you proceed. So if you are thinking of going back to school or taking any kind of course or seminar, I would recommend that you make sure that you're doing all of your research. Unfortunately, there are a few, how should we say this and still kind of stay politically correct? There are some schools out there that perhaps aren't as ethical as they could be. Okay. You do have two more cards here that popped out at the end. One of them is the renewal card, which is the equivalent to the number 20 card in the traditional tarot and the major arcana. And this card is saying review the past as well as the present in order to be able to make an accurate decision. It is saying that you do have the opportunity for a very bright future and being able to release judgments and move forward. Both of these cards have similar meaning. Both of these cards indicate that you need to do your research, need to do your background checks before you make your decision to move forward. Both of them are indicating an opportunity for a good outcome this week. But this is saying make sure that you've got all of your I's dotted and all of your T's crossed, okay? I will just read what is on this renewal card. Review the past and the present so that you can plan a bright new future, understanding your life's purpose, and just knowing, this card from the traditional tarot. Part of knowing your life's purpose, part of knowing the direction that you need to go in is knowing where you've come from. So these two cards together are indicating, take a look at where you've been and the lessons that you've learned before you move forward. You also got the Four of Spring, which is the equivalent to the Four of Wands in the traditional tarot. And this card is all about gratitude. Practicing gratitude, be grateful for what you have. Deep feelings of peace and happiness. You do have an opportunity to celebrate this week, but be practicing gratitude this week. Like I said, you're going to want to be doing your research this week. Make sure that you are checking everything before you dive in with both feet. And in order to continue to manifest here, you're going to want to practice that gratitude. Let's have a look at the card on the bottom of the deck, which will indicate your shadow energy this week. You have the Prince of Cups. Falling in love suddenly, being swept off your feet. This is a card of needing to stay grounded. This is a card that indicates if you're not careful this week, there is the opportunity for you to get caught up in an overwhelmed situation. This is a card about emotions and trying to keep our emotions in check. And so for those of you that selected this little Orgonite this week as your shadow energy, just watch for emotional overwhelm this week. That's not to say you know, oh my God, the world is ending. Not at all. But what this card is saying is that something that would normally be a day-to-day type routine thing, I don't know, going to the bank to take out 20 bucks, and for whatever reason the bank machine is not working. This card is indicating that you could have an emotional reaction that is not in alignment with the norm, if that makes sense. So instead of just going, damn, and walking away from the bank machine that didn't spit out the $20 that you had wanted through no fault of your own, maybe the last person took a couple $1,000s out and the machine is out of money, you may have a more emotional reaction. So this card is just giving you the heads up to be aware of that, so that if a situation presents itself and you feel that bubbling and you feel that coming up, you don't express that outwardly and stick your foot in your mouth, right? So like I always say, forewarned is forearmed. If we know that there's an opportunity for us to potentially go into a place of emotional overreaction, then when a situation comes up and we feel that and we go, oh, right, I knew that this was going to happen this week. Okay, take a couple of deep breaths, bring it down a couple of notches, and then go forward. And that goes with these two cards as well, that if you're not doing your proper research, if you're not learning from your past mistakes before you move forward, if you're not exploring the past and saying, I've learned this lesson before, I got this, if you're not making sure that all of your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, then the opportunity presents itself for possible emotional outbursts. So just be aware of that. If it presents itself, take a couple deep breaths, bring it down. It's all good. All right. If you are liking this content, if you like the format of these readings, please like this video, leave me a comment. I would love your feedback. Okay, let's move on to this little piece of selenite. Those of you that selected the piece of selenite this week, I will be pulling your cards from the Kyle Gray Angels and Ancestors. And let's have a look at what your dominant energies are this week. Dominant energies for the week for those who selected the selenite. Okay, come on, angels and ancestors. What do we have going on? Angels and ancestors. Oh, apparently they're not very talkative. Go. Okay. All right, for those of you who selected the selenite this week, your dominant energy is the mountains, standing your ground. Again, this card indicates that there's a lot more going on below the surface than what you might think. You might be looking and saying, oh, there's the mountain. There's a lot more going on below the surface. You might see somebody who is enraged, for example, at the bank, and they're yelling and screaming, and you're going into that place of judgment. Oh, look at that person. How dare they? But you may not realize what's going on below the surface. So this is a card of recognizing that not everything is as it seems on the initial surface. This card is a card as well of stand your ground. This card is indicating this week that if there's something that you truly believe in, and there's something that you're not really willing to budge on, but somebody is pushing for you to see things from their perspective, stand your ground. And this isn't always a question of right and wrong. This is just a question of, hey, this is how I feel. This is how I feel. I'm standing my ground. I'm the mountain. Please don't try and change my mind. That's really what this card is about this week. I do want to say that for some of you, this has to do with being in a relationship. I don't know why that's coming up. Okay. I'm being asked to just say, if you are a Pisces, I don't know why. I mean, there's 12 zodiac signs. I'm not reading for a specific zodiac sign right now. And yet I'm being asked to say, if you are a Pisces this week, you're being asked to stand your ground, specifically the Pisces. And like I said, this is a general reading. It applies to everyone that was called to select this selenite, but the Pisces in particular, for whatever reason, I'm being told that you need to hear this week. Stand your ground. There's something really important coming up for the Pisces this week. Interestingly enough, for those of you who've watched some of my zodiac prediction videos, if you are not a Pisces, just a little bit of background, the Pisces are kind of struggling up against something right now because we're leaving the age of Pisces, moving into the age of Aquarius, and it's a little bit itchy for them. It's like putting on a scratchy wool sweater for them right now. Having said that, that's not to say that they're really struggling. They're just wearing an itchy sweater. And so that might be why I'm being called to mention Pisces in particular. Pisces and Capricorn, actually. Yeah. Okay. Now, for the rest of you, this reading is still for you if this is resonating for you up until this point. I do want to say I'm really feeling that for a lot of you, this is about standing your ground in a relationship somehow. It could even be a relationship with a boss or a superior at work, but there's definitely the dominant energy of standing your ground and recognizing there's more going on than meets the eye. Let's have a look at the bottom of the deck. What is your challenge this week? You know what? I'm being called to pull 2 cards off the bottom for your shadow or challenge this week. The first card is transform and unveil your gifts. This is a shadow energy for you this week. And what this is telling me is that for those of you that selected this selenite ball, you guys are, it's coming, you guys are playing it small right now. You're not letting your light shine through. You're not expressing your gifts. You're not, I mean, you're being told stand your ground, and then you get a card in a shadow position saying transform and unveil your gifts. Well, if it's in the shadow position, it kind of has the opposite meaning, which means that you're not actually doing this, despite the fact that perhaps it's something that you could be doing this week. Okay. So this may come up for some of you. That's interesting. Okay. I'm being told to word it this way. For some of you, you're going to get called out for this week. You're going to get called out for playing it small. You're going to get called out for not allowing your beauty and your gifts and your uniqueness to come out. Okay, so watch for that this week. And if that happens, then, revel in that and embrace that. Like I said, I was called to pull a second card for you for a shadow energy off the bottom of the deck. And you got the Elder, which is about moving beyond ancestral patterns. This is about releasing the past. So what does this mean in a shadow position? This means that for some of you who selected the selenite, you're holding on to the past. Let it go. it doesn't serve your highest good, let it go. Okay? I think that's why I was called to pull this second shadow card, which is something I don't normally do. Because if you've got the Mountain card and you're being told to stand your ground, then for some of you, there's that immediate jump to, oh, I have to hold on to the past. The past is the right. No, 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 no. That's a misunderstanding. Let's clarify here. This is about, okay, I've gone within, I've done my meditations, I've determined what's true for me in my own heart and my own belief systems, and I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to be the mountain with regards to that. While at the same time, some of what you might be trying to hold on to, have a look this week and make sure that it's not a past tradition that no longer serves your highest good. And try and find that balance, right? That's as well as above, so below. It's about finding some balance. All right. If you enjoyed this reading today and if this resonated with you, please give me a like and leave a comment. I would love to have your feedback, and we will see you all next Monday. Yay.